off this money and then sending it back to Somalia. We don't, I'm assuming, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm assuming we don't really know their intent or motivations. And so some of those individuals may well have known that Al-Shabaab would then be taking a portion of this money. They would be taking basically a tax on that money.
That's fair to say. I wouldn't be able to prove, we didn't include it in our article, the claim that, yes, this money was specifically defrauded with the express purpose of fundraising for Al-Shabaab. We can't justify that claim, but regardless, we can't rule it out as a possibility. And the bottom line is either way, Al-Shabaab's getting a cut, whether or not they're intending for that to be the case or not.
Right. No, I appreciate the objectivity there. You don't see that very often. Okay. So what are we talking about in terms of dollars? Do we know yet?
So we don't know the total dollar figure here. There are whistleblowers in the DHS in Minnesota who say, it could be as bad as 6.5 billion. But I think what's safe to say is we're talking about billions of dollars. And on numerous occasions, the U.S. Attorney's Office has indicated, these 3 major fraud rings that have been exposed to date, we're talking about $1 billion there. And when it comes to the true scope of the fraud, it is in the billions. But in terms of, what is the exact final dollar figure going to be here, we don't currently know. We might not ever know.
And there's so many questions here to ask, Ryan. So I apologize if I seem to be all over the map here. But, but again, kind of looking, at a distance and saying, okay, tell us the infrastructure of this. When does it appear that this started? Is there a way to say, look, it appears as if this scheme, although I don't know that scheme gives it a fair enough sort of context. But when did it start?
Well, fraud in government welfare programs would have been going on for decades. I'm sure.
Wait! I've got my shock face on again. Hold on, we have to get some time.
It's certainly a long-standing problem, but at least what sources told me was that they felt like it started to get much worse around 2010. Not to the kind of crisis level that we've reached now, but things had started to pick up a bit of steam. And then I think a real kind of critical moment is COVID, where you just have more money flying out the door than ever before. And you have some of these programs that are, specifically designed to have very few guardrails under the, idea that, look, it's an emergency. We have to have low barriers to entry. We've got to get money into the hands of people who need it. So the programs, when you take a look at them, some of them almost seem to have been specifically designed in order to facilitate fraud. And so I think the fraud predates COVID, but then it accelerates in that point in time. And it continues.
Yeah, I have heard some comments. I think they're probably initial comments from Representative Ilhan Omar. And I believe they were yesterday, at some point in the past day or two. She was addressing this issue, and her response, which was very wordy, was essentially, well, it was the pandemic, and essentially saying what you're saying. We had no guardrails because, we had to work so quickly. And I'm thinking, you can work quickly, and you can work efficiently, and you can work effectively. Those things are not mutually exclusive, right? But, and again, I'm not saying that that's an uncommon response from government. And I think the problem here will be that when you talk about something like this, defrauding the taxpayers, fraud within the government programs, there's a danger, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's a danger that people just roll their eyes and go, well, of course.
Yeah. I think that is, look, are we ever going to be able to completely stamp out fraud when it comes to government welfare programs? Likely not, but when we're talking on the level that we are here, billions of dollars over the course of a handful of years, like this is a 5-alarm fire in the state of Minnesota, and Minnesotans should be utterly outraged. Like, they have been failed by their government officials, by the people who are supposed to keep their eyes on the public purse. They have been exploited by their fellow residents in the state. And, ultimately this money, we can talk about whether or not government welfare is, what we think about that politically, but this money was earmarked for, people who had some needs. And as a result, those needs went unmet, and the taxpayer still got hit with a bill, and it went to fund, lavish lifestyles and luxury vehicles and real estate purchases in Africa and across America.
Yeah, no, look, I agree that the programs themselves, setting up these programs, the needs are very legitimate, right? And yet, let me, before I go down that road, you mentioned that, the people of Minnesota should be outraged. Do you get the sense that they are?
I get the sense that there is, a lot of anger in the state. Now, I can't speak for everyone, but I've been, pretty consistently working the phones since this story broke, keeping in touch with the contacts that I've developed to try and, get a sense of what they're hearing and what the situation is on the ground. I also spent time in Minnesota while reporting this piece, and, I definitely think that a lot of the people I'm speaking to, at least, are, one, outraged, but two, they're also happy that this is now a national conversation. There have been people at the state level who have been, trying to raise alarm bells about this for a while, and I think they felt like, this is a huge scandal. Why is no one paying attention? And now it's finally kind of broke through on the national level.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and leave a comment, a really positive, nice, and kind comment. That would be appreciated. And if you're not already subscribed to our channel, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our daily updates.
All right, just want you guys to get a little no eruptions. I just wanted to get his point across and just explain to you exactly how is it that these Somalian pirates are stealing from American people. And how is it that, yes, in some cases, they probably, Al-Shabaab is getting a cut of this money. So, again, he said he can't confirm it 100%, of course. This is what I said too as well. There is no 100% confirmation about this unconfirmed sources and stuff, but there is a clear clarification if the government of Somalia is aware of this fraud scheme and they're taking, quite frankly, their sitting there and siding with the perpetrators and standing behind them 100%, it's kind of clear cut that, yeah, in some cases, maybe Al-Shabaab really is probably getting a cut of this money. Because I'm pretty sure the government in Somalia is also getting a cut of this, where it was getting a cut of this before this whole big scheme blew up in front of their faces. You know, again, unconfirmed information, of course. Let me make that very clear. I should have said that earlier. But it's very clear. The signs are there. The connections are there. So as we go on right here, this is Davari Darkins right here.
Went off on Ilhan Omar during his rally last night. Well, this has led to Republicans and Democrats complaining about his rhetoric and language. But what we're going to do in this video is actually focus on the message and the merits of what he was saying, particularly the economy, where he made some major announcements. But before all that, like this video, share this video, leave a comment down below, and please do not forget to subscribe. Let's start here.
This Ilhan Omar, whatever the hell her name is, with the little shoe, the little turban. I love her. She comes in, does nothing but she's always complaining. She comes from a country where, I mean, it's considered about the worst country in the world, right? They have no military, they have no nothing, they have no parliament. They don't know what the hell the word parliament means. They have nothing. They have no police. They police themselves. They kill each other all the time.
They got pirates.
I love it. She comes to our country and she's always complaining about the Constitution allows me to do this. We ought to get her the hell out.
Yeah, so you guys know where he was going with that. He was calling for her to, get kicked out of this country and deported. Now, just on the merits alone, which I think should be centered regarding this debate with people like her in Congress, is that if you're not born here in the United States of America, you should not be serving in Congress. I mean, we've said this, I don't know, on a weekly basis now. If the president of the United States has to be born here in our country, so should members of Congress. All right, there's been a few members so far this year that they have publicly stated in front of a camera that it's their home country first, then America. She said it. Others have said it.
There's actually was a trending video. I might pull it up in a minute, where this girl was on the whatever podcast and says she is a foreign national from I believe Colombia. It was Colombia, and she refuses to denounce her love and basically nationalism for Colombia, and refuses to put the American flag first and foremost, and put this country that she lives in right now first and foremost now, because this is her country. She don't live in Colombia no more, but she says she always loved Colombia. Her home's in Colombia. You know, everything about her is her sense of Colombia, like, is a nationalism, but for Colombia. So if you have nationalism for a different country, why are you living here? Oh, and then she answered in the same clip saying that she's here just to take advantage of the American system. She's just here to get money. This is what a lot of these foreign. This is why it's kind of hard to not have collective punishment for this entire community of these Somalians, is because, like, this is all these immigrants right now. They come here. They don't want to assimilate. They still have love for their country, for their flag, for their people back home. And it's just like, it's kind of hard to not see the signs that these people seem like, to me, because the reason they're not assimilating is because they still have that nationalism for their former country and why they don't want to assimilate. If that's the case, then why are you here? If your goal is to come here and steal resources and steal money from the American people, then you should lose your citizenship immediately and be deported. We need to start prioritizing this more and more and more. It's time to stop letting these people come here and letting them in just because we are a Christian country and we are sympathetic to these people's causes. Quite frankly, I don't give a shit about that. Look, it's the morality thing to do, but at the same time, it's also hindering us. Because it's destroying the majority population, which is whites, that are going away because of this white genocide. And they're also taking resources from other people, the minority groups that were born here for generations, like, say, black people, for example, regardless of, like, my criticisms of them in general. It's still, we're all Americans for the most part. And these immigrants that come here and want to take advantage of the system, take advantage of all the resources, and just extrapolate that and then send it back to another country to enrich themselves, it's the most un-American thing ever. And we just incentivize this instead of just stopping the problem before it really becomes a problem. So I agree that we need to get rid of this stuff and then allow them to also serve in Congress. That's, bruh. The serving Congress is crazy to allow foreign nationals to come in and you allow them to serve in your government. That's like us saying we go to China. That's like us, like me going to say if I go get seek asylum in China and I become a citizen in China and then I try to run for like a CCP position. Obviously, I'm not going to do it because I'm not Chinese. They won't allow me to. I believe it's against the law too as well. They won't allow anyone that's not Chinese born to be able to run in any form of governance. Now, of course, you can run like some tech divisions, but that's like you don't really have no power. You're just like doing like some analytic stuff, but it's nothing of like, say, you're not becoming Xi Jinping, the president of China. So, but yeah, I agree with Davari on that part.
It's nothing new. So let's go to the polar opposite of this this rally, meaning how other Republicans feel about it. So this is Governor Cox out of Utah. I think you already know how this is going to go. I wanted to play this clip because it represents the continuous struggle with people in politics and how they react to the president.
President Trump is having a rally. He's talking about affordability, but he's also doing talking about other things. He just randomly talked about Ilhan Omar, talked about the turban on her head, said we should just get her out, and then there was a chant in the crowd, send her back, send her back. So while you all are trying hard to lower the temperature, lower the rhetoric, you have somebody with the biggest, loudest megaphone saying things like that in your party.
Yeah, sure. Look, I disagree with Congresswoman Omar. I think she should be voted out of office, and I think I can do that without attacking her religion or her race or her ethnic background. I think that's really important. I know that the president disagrees with me. He and I have had these conversations. I have to say, during the Charlie Kirk shooting, in the conversations we had, he talked to me about nonviolence and trying to be a voice for that. I understand he's not interested in uniting the country, and he would tell you that, I think, if he were sitting here with us tonight. But I would also say that it's not going to be a president who fixes this. It's not going to be two governors who fix this. It really has to be all of us. So the politicians that we elect are a reflection of we the people.
We know who Donald J. Trump is, okay? The guy's from New York. That tells you everything you need to know. These people will speak their minds, okay? Yes. And so I'm not shocked by his rhetoric. I've never been shocked by his rhetoric. In fact, if anything, his rhetoric actually makes me laugh because he's telling people exactly what they think, or, he's saying what most Americans think, in my opinion. Yes. So, of course, most people have this reaction. It's unbecoming of the presidency, etc. But listen, you can go to the other side where they're nice and polite, but they're just as rude, if not disrespectful, in so many other ways. This is just more of a blunt way of telling people what it is, and they don't like it. All right, so let's go back to the president. Here's more what he had to say about the economy last night.
A permanent pause on third world migration, including from hellholes like Afghanistan, Haiti, Somalia, and many other countries. I didn't say shithole, you did.